Hi everybody. If you're watching now or later, this is my first time ever doing Facebook Live, and so I'm just kind of winging it and hope that it works. I'm Maria Netzloff, Development Director for Garden City Harvest, and I'm here live at the Peas Farm with Josh Slotnick. He has been with Garden City Harvest since the beginning, more than 20 years ago, and was one of the co-founders of Garden City Harvest, and since then he has been running the program up here at the Peas Farm. It's a little bit bittersweet because this is Josh's last season farming up here, and so I wanted to take a chance and ask him a couple questions, just kind of looking back on these last couple of years and kind of what he's hoping for the farm in the future as he passes the torch on to someone else at some point. But first, Josh, I just wanted to know what's happening at the Peas Farm right now this summer.
Right now this summer. So right now this summer, we are madly harvesting vegetables. We're in the heart of our season. It's the beginning of August. So right now we have tons of vegetables and we're into fruit, and we still have a little bit of weeding. We're done planting things except for direct seeding salad mix, which we do weekly. But we're just in the heart of it right now with university students, our youth program, and elementary school kids. We're gonna have a field trip here in like another 20 minutes, and then farm camp as well. So we're just in the thick of the high pace of summer right now.
Yeah. Is it kind of like being swept away in a tidal wave of sorts?
A little bit.
That busy?
Yeah, it's fully busy. It's so busy right now that only at kind of pointed moments do I get a sense of awareness that, oh my gosh, this is the last time I'm going to be doing this. So I'll be racing along. We're harvesting beets just a few minutes ago, going as fast as we can, chatting with students, keeping this alive in a fun experience, and an experience that's oriented around production. We have real goals we have to meet. At the same time, I look up and realize, man, those trees are so big now. They are taller than the barn. And I planted those trees, and I'm not going to be here anymore. And then I go right back to beets and talking with the people that I'm talking with. And that's kind of how the days have been. For the most part, it's just swept away in the tidal wave of the work and the place, which is fully joyful too. I have the best job in the world.
Yeah. And one of the nice things too about this place is, even though you won't be an official employee, you can still come whenever you want.
I can still come back, yeah. I'll come back.
The gate's
The gate's
not
open.
closed.
Yeah, it'll be a while before I think I could come up here again without just melting. But I mean, this whole thing was a vision and a dream that came more than true. It became bigger and greater and more wonderful than I ever could have imagined.
So, with that perspective, I mean, just kind of looking back to when Garden City Harvest was first getting its start, it was the mid-90s.
Yeah.
What was it like then, and how has it changed until now?
That's a great question. So I think the biggest difference is that what we were doing then was pretty marginal and really needed to be explained to people if they were going to buy in, and everyone was hesitant and skeptical. Whereas right now the organization is so big and so successful, and the idea of local food and tying nutrition to food and local agriculture, these things are all kind of part of the mainstream cultural conversation, and so we don't have to start at square one and like, well, why should we be doing this anyway? And that was the case in the mid-90s. So we had to be really scrappy. We had minimal resources, and
you had to break through.
We had to break through for sure, and also almost no expectations on our work, which is a huge difference now, where I feel like, rightly so, the community has really high expectations that every site we manage is going to be beautiful, and people who come to our sites are going to have great experiences because we've proven that this is what happens.
Yeah.
And back at the beginning, people were just like, what are you doing? That's some crazy weird stuff, with no real expectation.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know what it would be.
Yeah.
And right away, like year one, immediately, we grew beautiful food. And right away, year one, the people who worked with us had more than positive experiences. And I think that's what got us going. And then later, we had to organizationally, administratively catch up, because we were way in over our head and like trying to run organizations.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because we moved recently into a new administrative office, and that gave us this chance to unearth long lost memories of
All
Garden
right,
City
right,
Harvest,
great.
and I just wanted to show you
Oh,
one of
no.
them that I found that I thought was so cool.
Oh, I totally remember that. Yeah.
It's the little house, and I
Yeah.
feel like that might be right around when we just moved in.
Yeah.
I'm
Yep,
not
that's-
sure who's in that picture with you, but I just like that one because you look so happy and excited about
Yeah, we
the possibilities.
yeah. Yeah, we successfully moved I think we just painted it.
Yeah, and I like the color.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Here, I'll show everybody out there if you can see this. It's our first office,
tiny
the little
office.
house that was on Hickory Street. And there's Josh leaning against the railing.
With black hair
He
instead
had
of gray
black
hair.
Instead of the salt and pepper we know and love today.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, so it was kind of fun to find those things. But yeah, so how do you feel like this year is different than other years?
Oh, I mean, the big one for me is that everything is feeling like this is the last time I'm going to do these things. That's how it is personally, but otherwise it isn't so much different than last year or the year before. We're definitely feeling growing pains here at the Peace Farm, and I feel that more pointedly maybe because I know that we could work towards fixing it, and also that I'm leaving and I want to leave this in a place that where the people who are here have all the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah.
So on any given day, we'll have 15 university students, 10 high school students, and then heaps of elementary school kids.
Oh yeah, there's a field trip group getting ready just
They're
over there.
staging right there.
They're finding out all the rules.
Yeah. No touching, no putting your hands through the pig fence, and plenty of smiles. I think those are the big.
I think that's
rules.
it. Which is, they're the best rules you could
They're
have
good
because
rules.
they're rules about how to have fun and enjoy this farm as much as you can.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned some growing pains
Yeah,
at
so
the farm.
for sure. So all those people in those groups, when we first started here at the Peace Farm, that wasn't the case. We just had 10 or 12 university students. And we built this barn ourselves, our little community, a few trained friends, but it was pretty much us. And we have a little tiny kitchen and one bathroom. And that worked for the 10 to 12 people who were eating lunch there 4 times a week during the summer. But now we're in a spot where we have, with staff, 30 people.
Wow.
And we have this little kitchen. We have a kitchen that's the size of like what you'd have in a studio apartment.
Yeah.
And then one bathroom. And we have a caretaker here, and the caretaker shares those spaces as well.
Yeah.
So all that stuff worked when we first started, but now in order really to, for us to cook lunch for ourselves 4 times a week, we need to double the size of our kitchen. And we need enough bathrooms so that these school kids don't have to link hands and cross their legs outside the bathroom, which we will get to see momentarily. They do this. And it's great during CSA, there's a link of children all waiting to pee. So great changes. This place was small, and now it gets used by so many more people.
Yeah.
But our facilities, especially our kitchen and bathroom, need to catch up with our use. So that's the growing pains I'm talking about.
Wow. It's got to be incredible for you to have seen this place grow as much as it has. I mean,
It's
from
so incredible.
being little known
Yeah.
and a few people knew about it and were into it, to now, I mean, there's literally thousands of people who come here
incredible.
throughout the summer.
Yeah, it's totally incredible. And what's happened with Garden City Harvest, where it needed explaining, and now if I tell people what I do, they all go, oh, yeah, I know that. Oh, I've been to River Road, or I've been to the Peace Farm. My kid went out there. Like we've become part of the cultural fabric of Missoula, which I never would have expected and would have been the greatest of hope, but I didn't even dare to do so.
Yeah.
And I think the other lesson I learned in doing this that I would love to pass on, because I think it's valuable in all things, is to grow an organization what that means is to have really good people and make sure they all have the tools they need and then get out of their way. And because the 3 of us who started, that was kind of our ethic, because we didn't want anyone, and we wanted to have the autonomy to grow food and work with people, that as we brought more people on, that was the ethic and the culture we instilled. And because of that, we have all these great programs, the Youth Harvest program and the Youth Farm itself, Farm Camp, the community gardens, prescription produce. All these were dreamed up by people who were given the tools they needed to succeed and then let run. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's the strategy for making things work.
So that's like the recipe for a successful organization.
I think
is
so. Yeah, get the right
give them
people,
the right people,
and
the right
they-
tools, and then
they
just
get
let
out of
them
their
go.
way. Yeah, yeah, and then
Good
when
advice.
yeah, and then when people are thinking about dreaming up new stuff, or oh, I'm going to do this project for this specific group of people, to really be interacting with the folks you claim to be benefiting from,
Yeah.
and make use of the wisdom of the community. And we have such a rich and wise community. People in Missoula are very self-reflective and care tons about the place. And that we exist by the graces of that culture and those resources. So
Yeah.
we didn't dream stuff up over here in a vacuum and then present it to the town of Missoula. This is all done in concert with other folks all the time.
Yeah.
I think that's key to that recipe as well.
I think that's something that I've personally always appreciated about getting to work at Garden City Harvest, just how many partners that we have in the community
yeah.
that, you know, I never knew about that before I worked here, but I just liked that we worked with other people in a way that made sense with
Absolutely.
other organizations, and it just kind of seems like it dovetailed really nicely.
Yeah, it's really inspiring, and I feel like should be a model. What we do are real partnerships, and that means chatting with people at the outset and saying, how can we organize this new program or project so it helps meet your needs? And then people are, even who aren't part of Garden City Harvest, are in on the design of it.
Yeah.
And then when the thing emerges, they're already an ally.
Was that something that you had envisioned from the beginning as Garden City Harvest was just getting its start, or did that kind of happen organically?
That happened that happened organically. I mean, I was a Peace Corps volunteer before starting in all this.
Yeah.
And that was something I learned in the Peace Corps on doing community development. You don't do this for somebody, you do this with people.
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. But it happened organically because that was the only way it could have happened. We didn't have enough resources to just go do stuff. We
Yeah.
had to work with people, other folks who had resources.
Yeah.
And that meant really listening, because then we're going to jump in and help us, unless what we were doing was helping them. And that's the essence of partnership.
Okay. Wow. I feel like I'm learning so much about how to... We're giving away our trade secrets.
Yeah, right. There's open source on trade secrets.
Yeah, exactly. We like to share. So I don't watch a lot of sports, but
Yeah.
one thing I am a fan of is the highlight reel.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
my favorite part. It's all
Yeah.
the best things
I love that.
of any sports, and especially if there are mascots involved. But I was wondering if you could just kind of give me your highlight reel. Like, what?
Oh my gosh.
If there's like 5 things that pop into your head over the last couple of decades, what do you think those
Some
things
really
would be?
big ones.
I'm
Okay.
putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, because I have to think. So I'm going to try and go, like, move through time. A really big one, like early highlight,
Mm-hmm.
was the day we put the rafters up on that barn. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you look at the barn, it's got a really steep pitch to it, and it's a post and beam structure. So we built these huge rafters on the ground. And
Yeah.
at that point, it didn't look like much. And then we used this kind of miniature crane and lifted them up and put them in place, and all of a sudden it looked like something. And I was up on top with 3 other people, and we put them in place, and standing up there setting these things in place, realizing, man, this is really happening, and then looking out at what this farm was.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. that was a really big one.
Yeah.
There was another big one early on, our first farm party.
Oh, okay. Was
We
that
had
up
it-
here?
It was right here. It was in the parking lot.
Okay.
And we had a band on a flatbed trailer in the parking lot, and we planned for like 80 to 100 people, and we had more than 400 people.
Oh,
And of course,
wow.
we ran out of food. We did all the cooking in the barn. It was very amateurish
Yeah.
compared to how it's done right now.
Yeah.
But there was a moment when I was standing with Dave Harmon, who's our wonderful neighbor. Without his well, we couldn't have this farm. Dave and his wife Amy. Anyway, I was standing with Dave in the parking lot, just surrounded by people and music, and you could just feel the love and joy, and just people were way into this. And Dave looked at me, he's like, like, oh my God, it worked. Like, it worked, like all of it, far greater than we could have imagined. And we were planning for 80 to 100 people.
Wow.
That was a big one. And
I
then,
think that's happened a couple times at farm party where we think
Right.
a number of people are going to come and then way more come than we expect.
yeah, man. Other big
so
one for
fun.
me is seeing River Road emerge, which is a large highlight. But that, because I got my start really on that space before it was the River Road farm,
Mm-hmm.
and then
You were living at the old farmhouse that
Yeah,
was there.
Kim and I lived in the basement and then in the duplexes next door, and that was our first family farm, Clark Fork Organics. And then as that grew and CFO moved and Greg took that on and really made it sing and shine, that we were able to buy it and build that space, and it's going to be farmed forevermore and saved forevermore and
Yeah.
be a community resource forevermore. I mean,
Yeah.
almost any one of these things would be enough, but that would be enough. But there's like, I've been rich in this stuff.
Yeah. Were there any just sort of, I don't know how to say this, like day-to-day things that you found that you really came to cherish?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna do one today. Sounds so, let's try it. So we harvest vegetables in the morning on
Yeah.
CSA days, and then right after lunch, we make flower bouquets and listen to music. And it's just the best.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for anybody who might be watching knows I'm going off to a very different type of work. I don't anticipate a quality of life enhancement.
Yeah. You might not be at a meeting making bouquets.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to the Velvet Underground with 4 people I like and make flower bouquets. That's really special, and that's
Yeah.
part of my job.
Yeah.
And the people who are doing it are learning about the types of flowers, and then people are coming to buy the flowers. It's part of the CSA. It all fits in, and it's just one thing that lasts for 45 minutes twice a week. It's not the entirety of what I do by any stretch.
Yeah.
But it fits with what you asked about. Just one of these things. Like, it's just so sweet. Eating lunch. So we work all
Yeah.
morning and then roll in, and then lunch is made. We students take turns, and a youth harvest kid take turns making lunch. There's wonderful Maggie right there carrying some sweet onions. She's on her way to make lunch. And just to eat the food you grew every afternoon with the people
Who you
worked
grew it with.
Yeah, and they're all happy. And being around happy, optimistic young people is pretty great.
That's exciting.
And it gives us, I think it should all be cause for hope for the future, because they're pumped up. They believe they can make good change happen.
Yeah.
They believe they're doing it right now, and they're going to keep doing it.
And they are.
And they are.
So
Absolutely.
that's exciting.
Yeah, and we should be super proud at GCH for helping set the table for that.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much that goes on here, and I feel
Yeah.
like for a lot of the people who are working on this farm, I mean, do you think this is kind of their first experience of getting to do something like this and getting
Yeah.
to feel like they see how the work that they're doing impacts other people in a positive way?
Definitely. For most of these university students, they get an experience of being necessary. Like we have to get all this food harvested. They wouldn't be able to do it. We wouldn't do it if they weren't here.
Yeah.
And then people come to pick up the food, and they see like their fingerprints are on that.
Yeah.
Most other activities they've been in, whether it was a crummy job or a school thing, they weren't necessary. Someone else could do what they're doing. But they're really necessary here, and they become an integral part of the community. And so that simultaneously they end up feeling kind of personally strong, like, man, I can do stuff. And also, this is the simultaneous part, that they're part of a community. And this is, I think, in the essence of our DNA. This is what we need. We need to know that we can affect change in the world as individuals, and that we belong. And they get both of those things here. And it's beautiful. And they get to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, it feels fun. Of course, it's like how we're supposed to live.
Yeah. I always feel like, I don't know, like a rush of joy whenever I come here. And if any one of the farmers just like pulls a carrot out of the ground and is like, here, take this and try it. It's like, oh, it's like they're giving me this really precious gift.
Yeah.
And it's just really special to be a part of that.
It's really good. So I want to back up on something, though.
Yeah.
It's a huge privilege just to get to do this work, and even call it work. I think we often think of work meaning like something hard that has to be done. The work part of it, the hard part that has to be done, is literally to get the permission to do this, which is what you all do. Like raising the money, securing leases, getting the resources so we can do this. That is unsung. That isn't joyful like pulling carrots or making flower bouquets and listening to cool music. I just get the icing on the cake. You guys have to make the cake. And it's the behind the scenes stuff that if it didn't exist, none of this would exist. And I often feel like you all don't get the proper pats on the back, because without it, there would be no River Road, there'd be no Peace Farm, there'd be none of it.
We all have to work together to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you all feel more sung than unsung.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your
Yeah.
time because I know it's the thick of the growing
Right.
season. But I wonder, just kind of, it makes sense that you're moving on to other things, and while we're sad to see you go, we're also excited for you to
Good,
see
thanks.
what other great things you're going to
Yeah.
do for the community. But just, I know this farm has got to be really near and dear to your heart,
Oh,
just from the
Yeah, absolutely.
blood and sweat
Yeah.
and tears that have
Yeah.
gone into this place. Probably mostly just sweat.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering kind of if you could talk a little bit about your hopes and dreams for this farm
Sure.
for the future.
Yeah, so it's super practical. And the essence of this place is practical. As much as it can speak in these joyful and metaphoric terms, it's very practical. Humble work.
You have to eat.
We got to eat.
Enough
Yeah,
said.
and yeah. So my short-term and somewhat long-term hopes are we should have the resources we need to meet the needs of the folks who come here, which in the short term means we have to expand that building and create kitchen and bathroom space to accommodate the use levels we have now, which are 25 to 30 people a day, 4 days a week. And if, like we were saying before, you have the right people with the right values and the right skills, and you get them the right tools, get out of the way and wonderful things are going to happen. And
Yeah.
right now we're being hampered a little bit. And we will do more good work and reach more people and create more good stuff when all the resources are in place. And this is just growing pains.
Right.
We grew from small to big, and now we need to have a kitchen and bathroom that meet our use needs. So that's got to happen, and
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that to happen and to walk away knowing that it's gonna happen. That the people who are here next have what they need to succeed.
And then what do you think you hope to see for Garden City Harvest as a
It's a
whole?
great question. So for GCH, my hope is that we don't rest on our laurels, which are rich and worthy of sitting on, but that we don't do that, and we are not risk averse, and we take chances, work with new partners, and work with groups who we have not yet worked with now. Unfortunately, we have a deeply stratified society, and people who got in early and are making it are well taken care of. But if you're on the margins, in a place like Missoula where cost of living is high and wages are low, life can be pretty rough. So I'd like to see us reaching out to folks who we aren't reaching out with now, and that may mean creating new gardens or creating new programs. I want us to be fearless in doing that and not just jealously guard the good stuff we created. And I believe we have an obligation to all the people who've worked with us to do just that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that.
Thank you for asking, Miriam. It's so sweet and kind of you to ask me. I'm touched that
Yeah.
you would be interested.
It's fun. I
Good.
don't ever get to ask people just question after question. So, yeah, thanks for taking some time out of your morning and giving me a great reason to come hang out at the Peas
Absolutely.
Farm for a few minutes in the beautiful part of the day.
Perfect.
I think that's it. Live.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks,
watching.
you guys. Have a great day. I don't know how to do this. Finish.